Hi, it is Tootie Tagerly coming to you live for the first time in 2023 from San Francisco, California. And we'll see how good my mic is because there are torrential downpours turning on and off in the background with the flooding. Reminds me of home, of the monsoon rains when I grew up in India and then being home in Thailand. And today going to talk about how to lead when you feel like an other in the corporate world. I work with many people who feel like others, whether it's because they're women, people of color, immigrants, or even white men who don't feel like they belong for reasons of sexual orientation, religious orientation, just beliefs, something else. What I wanted to bring today is a preview and peek into some of the themes and lessons from my TEDx talk that I'm giving this coming Saturday and pull it all together into hopefully some actionable advice. So the first thing, since it's the first live of 2023, is I wanted to share a little bit of my intention. My intention word for 2023 is shape-shifting or shapeshifter. And in this particular context, I want to be very clear that it's shapeshifter, not code switching. And both can feel really, really similar. Code switching is something others do a lot to fit in, to adapt to the systems of expectations of how to behave, whether it's using particular language, not swearing, dressing in a certain way, acting in certain ways to make other people around you feel comfortable. And believe me, there is good reason to do that sometimes, oftentimes, especially if you are a newer employee, if you're lower in the power chain, the power dynamic of a company. I get it. We all want to fit in, and we can do that. But there is a substantial impact in continuing to do that year after year, decade after decade in your career. And I've spoken to many senior leaders later on in their career who are like, I'm not doing this anymore. I spoke to one woman who is Pakistani American, and I think just last year was the first time in the return to work conversations at a major tech company when she actually came out and say, "Hey, I'm not able to come back to work yet because it's Ramadan, and it's important for me to have the right energy um, after this period of fasting." And that's how I'm going to design my return to work schedule and what's right for the team. So that I think is a really an example of being able to, following my word, shapeshift, which is switch the context of how you behave at work based on internal motivations, cultural lineage motivations, based on your otherness, and not simply to conform and make others happy, which is more the code switching scenario. And in this particular case, she was able to do it because she spent years probably code switching, and now for the first time as a senior leader is able to be a role model for others. So, how to lead when you feel like another in the corporate world. That was a roundabout story to share that what's really important is to first understand all the different aspects of your identity. If you're early in your career, you might not know or feel comfortable about sharing something so personal like your religion and your necessity to and your need for your religion to fast and follow these particular religious customs. But the first thing is understanding what's important to you. You might have had certain things given to you by your family, but and it's the choice. What is it that you value? What is it that's important for you? And what's important in carrying on to throughout your leadership? So it's understanding that and then trying little experiments to try to pull and integrate this into your identity at work. Um, it's a long process. It's going to take a while to be comfortable, and it's okay. I think the first step is destigmatizing and deshaming it. So understanding might just be for you. And as you feel comfortable, little experiments of opening up to share these aspects of your identity. Could be in a one-on-one conversation with someone you feel really comfortable with. It could be maybe in a safer group. It could be with your manager, and just experiment with levels of vulnerability. There is no one size fits all. But it does lead me to a second part of how to lead when you feel like an other, because honestly, when you feel and when you are a minority at work, it's so natural to feel imposter syndrome. We all feel it. Every single person I've talked to has felt it. And what helps is finding your people. And there's two groups of people when we're talking about finding your people, two groups of people who can really support you. The first group is your tribe. This is where you find people similar to you. In that example of the Muslim American, Pakistani American leader, it would perhaps be finding other women of color, other Muslims, and really having the conversation about, well, I fast. I'm not quite sure how to talk about this. Oh, we have a team building event. What are you going to do? Oh, should we ask them to move it? Should we actually have Ramadan be more commonly talked about as something that matters to us? Can we share some of this? So finding your people similar to you can make you feel like, hey, this is your tribe. You can belong with this group of people. The second part of finding your people is finding your allies. And this is where you look for people who are different than you so you can find diversity of thought. It's to be able to learn from people different. And this is an example straight from my TEDx. I spoke with a Thai engineering leader about mentorship. And what I love so much, she told me that she found the most confident white man she knew and asked him to be her mentor because it's mind blowing how differently they think. At the end of the mentorship, she realized, I never want to lead like that. But through working with him and learning with him, she found a way to lead without cheating who I am. I mean, goosebumps, right? How brilliant to find your allies, find the people who are out there ready and willing to help you and learn from them. You don't have to lead exactly like them, but understand their thought process, understand how their mind works. So, how to lead when you feel like another in the corporate world? I think it's super important to find your people. Two groups of people: your tribe that's similar to you, your allies who think differently, because both of them really matter. All right, this talk is going longer than I prefer, so I may skip one. I'm going to skip the 3 and I'm going to edit the 4, which will now be a 3. So you might think that some of this lineage stuff, maybe being a quieter leader, maybe feeling other, maybe feeling different, might be weaknesses in a corporate workplace, and that's pretty normal. There are also otherness. There is much, much, much unconscious bias going on. We all have heard that certain traits that might be considered assertive in a man, these very same traits are called aggressive in a woman because we all suffer from this unconscious bias, implicit racism, and it's what happens in the systems that we're in. And what we can do about it is we can become more comfortable. We can destigmatize, de-shame the parts of us that are other and reframe them as strengths. One of my clients, Soraya, we had worked on values. She's a quiet leader, ran a huge product org, but was different. She did not fit into the standard leadership patterns that were typically celebrated in this org, which is having a loud voice, making your case, being unafraid to interrupt others, and really, fight, be opinionated, speak up in the moment, and be able to do your thing right now. This was hard for her. She's a quiet leader. And one of the values she really cared about was solitude. Like she needed the rejuvenation time. She needed to take her dog out for a walk on Fort Funston to gather her thoughts. She couldn't on the spot come up with a brilliant answer. That wasn't her strength. Instead, what she did was really spend a lot of time doing the research because that was her strength. Having the pre-reads before the meeting. And you know what? Don't expect people to read your pre-reads, but know that the act of creating them can give you that confidence. It can give you that data at your fingertips. So if you don't know what to say in the moment, you can draw on the research and strength from your pre-read. And then the other thing that she did to really excel in this environment is at the end, if she didn't have an answer, be like, That's a really great question. I'll follow up with you afterwards. Let me go back and review the data. Let me go back and talk to my team, and I'll get back to you on it. Her patience, her empathy, her long view was actually able to calm down the entire organization and slow down just for 24 hours, not that slow, to slow down the decision-making process so it might not need to be made today, right now. And she would be the one known for summarizing, having these wonderful follow-ups, all as long as she could act in that way that led to supported her quiet leadership and also supported her value of solitude, not beating herself up for being different, for being other, and really claiming that as her strength. All right, this is longer. I gotta renumber the last point that I'm gonna make around how to lead when you feel like an other in the corporate world, because it is early January, is it's really important to focus, and it's really important to set your intention, whether it's for the year, if you're a year-long type of person, or whether it's for the quarter. It's much easier for us to really formulate things in 3-month increments. For me, back to shape-shifting, not code switching, for me, it is really, really important to have my intention be, well, I'm not code switching for other people. I'm shape shifting for me. I'm going to embrace all these different parts of my identity, whether it's as a Thai Chinese woman, whether it's as a mother, whether it's as a witch in my spirituality. And I'm going to shape shift between all of these facets of my identity. And that's how I'm going to show up in the world, how to show up as a leader, show up as a TEDx speaker, incorporating all these parts of that. And that's my intention for shape shifting. And I invite you to think about your lineage, think about your core true leadership, think about your otherness. And is there a word or phrase that'll help you remember and keep track of this leadership through the next quarter or year? All right. I am Tootie Tagerly. This talk was how to lead when you feel like an other in the corporate world. And the points around it were understand first, and then experiment with integrating all aspects of your identity. Find your people, your tribe similar to you, and your allies who think differently than you. Claim this otherness, claim this as a strength. And then finally, set your intention, whether it's for the quarter or the year, and that'll be your guideposts. All right, more next week. Chat soon. Bye.